We had a client that we worked with, and she was really struggling with profitability. She kept raising tuition. She actually did 3 tuition increases within a 15-month cycle, and she still could not catch up. So I helped her work with our 6 money leaks in schools, and she only used 3 of the 6 money leaks and cut her expenses by 50%. 50. She did not fire anyone. She did not slash any of her programs, and she did not work more hours. Again, the 6 money leaks are not hacks or spreadsheets. These are patterns. They are small decisions that feel so normal that your school does, but they quietly drain your school's profit. So if you've ever wondered why you're working so hard, but still not seeing the return, this is your first step to clarity. Click the link in the show notes and find out what it's actually costing you.
Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we have conversations about education, leadership, and building a school of excellence. The goal on this show is to bring you clarity, up-level your mindset, and give you practical strategies and inspiration so you can show up with confidence and trust your decision-making. I'm Chani Wolshansky. I'm a mom of 4 under 10, a former New Yorker, and been in the early childhood field my entire life. And I'm so grateful that you've joined me for this conversation. Welcome back to another episode of the Schools of Excellence podcast. I am so excited for this new series that we have, which is how to prep for the fall, how to prep for the new school year. And so we are doing 3 episodes back to back to give you some of my top insights in how school leaders can really prepare themselves for this upcoming new school year. So today's episode is all about the difference between anchors and enhancers. So let me explain to you the difference and why this is so critical for the new school year. What happens in the new school year, or anytime there is a big influx of enrollment, new teachers, hiring, onboarding, training, anytime there's an influx of that, what happens is many school leaders cut back on some of the things that are truly anchors in their life. What is an anchor? Well, an anchor in its definition, right, is something, it's used in the terminology with boats and ships, where it anchors the ship to the dock so that the ship won't, go back into the sea. And so when I think of an anchor, in the terms of school leadership, it's in the context of what are the activities that when I do these 2 or 3 things every single day, it anchors me, it grounds me. And then when I don't do them, I become overwhelmed, anxious, chaotic, nervous, frustrated, angry, resentful, all the things. What happens is in these high influx seasons where school leaders are strapped for time is they immediately look at, okay, what's not a burning fire? And so exercise becomes something that you stop doing, or eating healthy, or drinking water, or meditating, or any of these things that on a regular day you would do, but then in the beginning of the school, you're like, I'm going to get back to that when it quiets down, right? And I know that at least a bunch of you, when you hear me say that, are laughing because you're like, oh yeah, I've been there, done that, right? And we've all been there, done that at certain points. The reason I'm talking about this now is because I want to invite you to explore what are your anchors that even in the beginning of the school year, even when all of the things are going on, these are the things you're not letting go of. And I need to explain to you the difference between an anchor versus an enhancer. The anchors are the things that you do no matter what's going on in your life. And how are you going to be aware of your anchors? Well, you can look at your behavior. Okay. So one of the ways that I realized what my anchors were was recognizing, what do I still do even when I'm sick in bed with the flu, even when I'm traveling for an early morning flight, even when I'm home alone with all the kids and my husband's traveling, even when it's the morning of my sister's wedding, even when I am traveling to a conference and now I'm not home in my usual routine. What are the things that no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what's going on in my life, what are the things that I lean on that are my anchors? And so I recognized that I have 3 anchors, but they work in a prioritization. Meaning, even though these are my 3 anchors, sometimes if I have an early morning flight, one of these anchors will go. Or if I'm sick with the flu, then one of these things will go. But there's one anchor that I recognize that no matter what was happening in my life, this happened every single day. And that was prayer. Prayer is an anchor in my life. And it's not surprising since faith and family are my top 2 values. Prayer is a huge anchor in my life, which means I noticed a couple of months ago I was sick with the flu and I couldn't get up and go walking. And I didn't have energy for a lot of things, but I did sit in bed and I did prayer. And I also did meditation, which helped a lot with a lot of other things that were going on in my head at the time. But I didn't let go of prayer. However, on an early morning flight that I did a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have time to exercise because my flight was at 8 o'clock in the morning and I had to get to the airport. I did not have a chance to meditate that morning. I ended up meditating much later in the day when I usually use that as an anchor in the morning. However, I did have prayer in my morning. And so that's when I recognized that my anchors are prayer, walking, and meditation in that order. So I want you to take a moment, and if you're driving or walking or whatever it is, maybe come back to this exercise and take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and on one side write anchors, and on the other side write enhancers. What are enhancers? Enhancers are the additional things that you do as part of your wellness routine. So enhancers could be things like going for a manicure and a pedicure, getting your hair done, getting a facial, getting a massage, talking to a friend on the phone, going on a date night with your husband. But again, I'm saying a bunch of my enhancers, right? For some of you that are listening could be like, no, those are anchors. Like my husband and I go out every single week, no matter what, right? And again, Mayor and I go out every single week, but there are some weeks where it ends up falling to the wayside. That doesn't mean it's not important. It's just, it's not that core anchor where without that piece, I wouldn't be able to function. So we have to recognize the anchors versus the enhancers. So I have a lot of enhancers that I have in my life that on a typical week, monthly basis, I'm engaging with those enhancers because they truly enhance my mental and emotional well-being. And I have the anchors. Now, the reason I'm talking about the difference between these 2 things before the start of the school year is because you might not have time to go out with your husband the first week of school. You might not have time to get a massage that first week of school. You might not have time to get a manicure the first week of school. What are you going to make time for as your core anchors that you know that when you don't do these anchors, you don't have peace in your life? You're not grounded, which means you're not operating from a place of your highest vibration. And for every single one of you that's listening, it's going to be something else. I'm sharing with you mine, but that's me. You're you. You know what you need. If you pause and get quiet and listen to your body and mind will tell you what you need as an anchor in your life. And when you start stepping into the busy season of the school year, holding on to that anchor will be a lifeline to ensure that survival doesn't become a habit. Because what happens is when you let go of the anchors and then you don't do the enhancers for such a long time, survival becomes a habit. Now it's just like we're still in survival mode. And we have members inside of our Directors Inner Circle, our Owners HQ, our legacy group that are in survival for way longer than they need to be because survival becomes a habit. And my team and I constantly connect with them of like saying, hey, what are your anchors? Let's recalibrate them. Let's get you back into these so we can get you out of survival. And it takes a lot of mindset shift. And so the anchors are there so that when it's time to pull back, the journey up isn't as hard and arduous. I'll give you another interesting example that happened. So we live in Florida, for those of you that are new to the podcast, and we have a pool in our backyard, which we're very, very grateful for, especially in the Florida heat. Now, there was a particular rainy week, a couple of rainy weeks actually, and my husband usually changes the pool filter every single week. And he has like his routine that he does with the pool. And there was a lot going on and he didn't do the routine. And then as we were the pool got green and it looked like the sawgrass, like the swamp where alligators are. And it was horrible. And as he was trying to get the pool back to its right color and shock the pool and get the salt in, and it took us 10 days to get the pool back to where it needed to be, as opposed to 10-minute routine, right? So usually every single week, it's 10 minutes. He filters out the pool filter, cleans the top of the thing, puts in salt, boom, the pool's ready. 10 minutes. But because he missed that anchor in the pool, what the pool needed to be successful, it took 10 days to get the pool back. And so what you need to recognize when it comes to anchors is that when you don't do them, your body, mind, and spirit move so far away from the dock. You are so far in the depths of the sea. It takes days and weeks and sometimes months to come back to the shore because you floated so far away. You have floated so far away. Know your anchors, hold on to them. Don't let go of them. Do them because you know that this is what keeps you anchored to the dock, keeps you anchored, grounded with what you need to be the best version of yourself. So, would love to hear from you in our Schools of Excellence Lounge. You can come check out. The link is in the show notes. Would love to hear and continue the conversation on this podcast. What are your anchors versus what are your enhancers? And if you don't know what those are, let's start that dialogue. Let's have that conversation. Let's talk about what are your anchors. Let's get some ideas, share with each other in the group so that we can really start to help one another recognize what we need to be successful, and that the outside world and the outside forces and the beginning of the school year are not going to pull us down because the anchors are there to protect us. All right. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you join us for our next episode in the series of Back to School. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week. And I appreciate that you have joined us.
If your accountant has ever told you to cut back on professional development or slash your teacher appreciation budget or your staff development budget just so you could stay afloat, or has told you, hey, you probably can't go invest in that program, please listen. The problem is not that you're spending too much money on your people or yourself or your investment or your support system. It's that your school has invisible money leaks that are draining your profit, leaks that no spreadsheet will ever catch or accountant. So I created the 6 money leaks of schools that show you the 6 core areas that schools lose money every single month without realizing it. If you close even one of them, your profits will start to soar without sacrificing your team. Go get it now and stop blaming the things that are actually building your school.